Hey guys, how are you doing today? Unduka here again, and I'm going to be talking about 5 rules, right, you must follow if you are exporting food to the USA. Now, I talk about this because I've seen that these are the issues that many people have a lot of times when they are trying to export food into the USA. And if you follow these 5 rules, right, you will not have any problem exporting to the USA. Again, all I do is helping you African businesses find buyers in the USA. And for you to find buyers, you need to follow these rules. Now, the first rule is what I call local regulations. So let me put it here. 5 rules to export food to USA, right? Now, the first and the most important rule is local regulations. Now, what does local regulations mean? Now, remember, before you export anything, first of all, you have to get it out of the country to where you are going, and every country tries to protect themselves, right? No country wants to be exporting, their citizens to be exporting food, and everything they are exporting, it's all messed up. It doesn't meet quality. When people buy food from, say, in your country, everybody is complaining. So every country, they have rules that they put in place, right? And it's important for you to know these rules. Now, I can't go into all the rules, but one thing I can tell you for a fact is that in every country that you go to, they have local equivalent of the FDA. So the FDA is the US Food and Drug Administration. What they do is they make sure that you follow processes and procedures to ensure the safety of food for people who are going to be eating it. So that is one key thing. Your country will have its local regulations that guides how you export food out. So again, make sure you know the local regulations. A lot of times there are different regulations for processed food and different regulations for food that is raw, right? So again, know the difference. For a country like Nigeria, when you want to export processed food, food that has been packaged, food that's gone from the raw to a ready-to-eat state, you need to have your NAFDAC registration, right? Now, I know a lot of people go, they end up exporting without NAFDAC. Again, that depends on certain factors. A lot of times if you're exporting in commercial quantities or you're just exporting in personal quantity, most times if you're just exporting in personal quantities, you will get off easily. So that is the first rule. Make sure you know your local regulations as per what it takes to export food out of your country. Now, the second one I'm going to talk about, and this is typically covered by the local regulations, but it is very, very important, right? Because if you don't follow this process, you will a lot of times run into problems with US customs back there. So I'm going to call it seals, packaging, and seals, right? What do I mean by that? Look, a lot of countries have, especially the US, now I'm talking about US, but again, it applies to so many other countries. They have rules as to how certain products must be brought into the country. And these rules come about because of issues that they see here and there. So let me give an example. If you are exporting something like dried fish to the USA, right, it is essential that the fish itself is in a transparent, airtight, sealed envelope packaging. This is one of the errors that a lot of people make. They bring fish, they just want to use. No, the rule for fish going to the USA, make sure it's in a transparent, airtight packaging, right? So that when customs inspects it, they can bring out the fish, look at it, see that it's good, and then they let it go. Now, why did they start this? I'll give you the story, because there was an article the US Customs reported. Somebody, and again, it's from Nigeria, somebody shipped items, there was fish in it, they put it in, mixed it with clothes and other things, and there was a delay shipping the item. So instead of it taking 2, 3, 4 days, it took close to a month to get there. And what happened? By the time the the clothing and all those things got there, the food, the fish that was part of it had started rotting. There was maggots and so many things. And when customs went in for inspection, you can imagine the sight that they saw. So it's very important. Make sure you understand the rules. Now, something else like palm oil, a lot of us ship liquid items, right? Especially when you are shipping them to the USA via container. There are also rules that guard how to ship. You know, there was a recent, not so recent, but there was an incident where you had spills, heavy spills, palm oil spilled all over the port, you know, because the people who had transported it in containers did not follow certain procedures and there was a leakage. So again, make sure you understand the type of seals and packaging that is required. Now, this seals and packaging, it doesn't just stop at making sure, you know, you don't have leaks and all that. It also helps to ensure the customs agents, people who are inspecting it, most times the FDA agents, that the packaging is ideal for the shelf life you are advertising on that food product. So for example, if you have your labels on the product and you say this product shelf life, and you say, for example, this product is supposed to last 6 months, those people, they will look at it and say, does this packaging allow this product to last this long? So again, take note of that. So again, the first one is the local regulations. Make sure you understand the local regulations, because again, if you cannot ship the product out of your country, you can't even get it to the US in the first place. And there are various local regulations. Most of them will require you to have some form of registration with your agency. The second is packaging and sealing. Now, the third one is what I call it's the basics for any export shipment. You know, I've talked about this many times, and a lot of you that follow me should know that. And that is your commercial invoice plus packing list. Okay, so this is vital. Just make sure you have your commercial invoice as part of the export documentation. And there are some key things you need to know whenever you are filling the commercial invoice. Again, the HS code. Make sure the HS code you are using for the product you are shipping meets the HS code for that product, right? This is one area I have seen so many people make errors. Right? They go in to export a piece of product and they just get to some shipping companies. A lot of times, the shipping company, the staffs of some of these shipping companies do not even know the rules. So what happens? You have a product that is A, they are using the HS code for product B. I'm going to teach more on HS codes later. But again, it's very easy. There's a lot of other videos out there on YouTube that will teach you how to make sure you are using the right HS code. Because again, remember, the HS code is what determines the duty that the customs is going to charge you on that product. Now, for a lot of you who are from sub-Saharan African countries, Nigeria, Ghana, Kenya, Uganda, South Africa, countries like that, you are going to be able to ship a lot of these products duty-free, following the AGOA rules of shipping. Now, I'm not going to be talking about the AGOA rules again, but it's good for you to know it, okay? Now, the next one is restricted items. And this is very important. The question is, the food that you are trying to export, is it allowed into the US in the first place? In fact, this should actually be the number 2 point, but again, it's there, right? There's a lot of products that you can't just export into the USA. Number one is things like meat, chicken, and all those things, right? A lot of countries, you can't export those things into the USA because, again, they are trying to protect their citizens and make sure things like, you know, where there is possible contamination. Remember, again, the issue of bird flu and mad cow disease. You know, when those things happen, they put a lot of restrictions, making sure that countries that export items like that into the US have a strict procedure they follow to make sure such diseases do not occur. So again, make sure what you are exporting is not restricted. Most items you can get in. Where you typically have restrictions are things like meat products. You have some form of restrictions when it comes to fish products, especially catfish, right? The US Department of Agriculture, I can't remember the exact name, they have strict monitoring rules on catfish. Right now, a lot of people still export it, but there are key things you need to know. So again, be careful, send me a message, if you have questions, I can throw more light on that. And then the last one, the last rule is your FDA food facility registration, right? Very important. Now, what is the FDA food facility registration? It's a registration you have to do with the US Food and Drug Administration that tells them the location of your facility. Now, why is this important? This is very, very important. And this came out after the 9/11 attack, because after the 9/11, they discovered that terrorists were also trying to get into the USA through the food supply system. So when you register your food facility with them, they know where the facility is. And any shipment that you are making into the US, you will have your FDA food facility number attached to your shipping documents, right? When there is any form of contamination in that product, they know where that product is coming from, and then they can work with the local embassies or the local FDA representatives in that country to try and stop those issues. So again, you must have this, very important. Now, is it everybody that needs it? Typically not. A lot of you are already exporting without having an FDA food facility registration. And the reason is simple, because you are exporting in personal quantities. You are not exporting in large commercial quantities. But again, be careful, right? Don't, bring in, boxes of, gari and say, oh no, it's only me that's going to eat it. And then you say it's personal quantity. Various customs people would define personal quantity in various ways. Now, the way I define personal quantity is that a personal quantity is what a family of 4, a standard family of 4, can eat regularly, right? That's what I define as a personal quantity. Now, once it's personal quantity, you don't need to worry about that. But the key thing is, will your definition of personal quantity work with the definition of the US Customs or the US FDA person who is reviewing your shipment? Let me give you an example. Now, if you are exporting, say, gari, for example, and you have maybe 5 kg of gari, right? This could be personal quantity. But when you have 5 kg of ginger powder, right? Is the family going to be eating 5 kg? Maybe I should use 10 kg, right? 10 kg of gari is still personal quantity, because a family of 4 can eat it for a reasonable length of time. But when you have 10 kg of ginger, is it really personal quantity? So those are things you need to think about. So again, when in doubt, just do the right thing. Make sure you have your FDA food facility registration. Okay, very, very, very important. Now, there's also something that a lot of people don't do when it comes to the FDA food facility registration, and this has to be done by your shipping company. There's what we call pre-alert. So the essence of having that food facility registration is that they tie it to your product. Now, when you are shipping, you need to send a notification to the FDA, and you shouldn't worry about that. Your shipping company, if they are reliable, should know how to do it. But again, and this is one rule I tell anybody who is trying to export food to follow, as to know if your shipping company knows what they are doing, especially with respect to the USA. Ask them about the FDA pre-alert. If they don't know about it, then don't use them. I can tell you for a fact they could put you into trouble. Okay, so again, these are some of the rules, the 5 key rules. If you follow this, you should have absolutely no problem exporting your products into your food products into the USA. Now, some of these rules, everything you see here is vast, right? I could teach for 2 days on local regulations. I could teach for 3 days, a week on packaging and seals. I can teach maybe 6 hours on commercial invoice and the processes and the packing list. I could teach a whole day on restricted items. FDA food facility and FDA labelings, that is a whole different ball game. But the key thing is that you know this. Now, why do I say that a lot of these are vast? Because you need to know more. Again, like I said, if you follow these 5 rules on exporting, you should have absolutely, and I mean absolutely, no problem exporting food to the USA. So again, feel free, send me a question, send me a DM, ask me about the event. Any question, I am available right there in our DM to answer you. Thank you.